Welcome everyone and get ready to dive into one of the most fascinating mysteries of American coinage, because today we are going to uncover the story of the 1982 no-mint mark 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors and enthusiasts around the world by being valued at an incredible $3 million, a coin so small yet so powerful in value because of the errors and mistakes it carries. The possibilities hidden within its metal, and the endless fascination it has generated in the numismatic community. And as we go deeper, you will see why this particular coin is not just a simple penny but rather a treasure born out of chance, missteps, changes in production, and sheer luck. So let's begin by taking ourselves back to the year 1982. A year that marked one of the most important transitions in United States coinage history because it was the year when the U.S. Mint decided to change the composition of the 1-cent coin from the long-standing copper to a newer, cheaper alternative made primarily of zinc coated with a thin layer of copper. This shift was triggered by rising copper prices that made it too expensive to continue producing pennies with nearly 95% copper, and so the mint introduced the new copper-plated zinc cents, which weighed less and saved money for the government. But at the same time, the transition created confusion, inconsistencies, and most importantly, mistakes. And this is where the legend of the 1982 no-mint mark penny begins. Because during this year the mint produced not just one but 7 different recognized varieties of pennies, including both large date and small date designs struck in copper and in zinc, with mint marks from Denver and Philadelphia. And in the midst of this flurry of varieties, changes, and adjustments came the creation of the coin that would go on to be one of the most valuable 1-cent pieces in history. The 1982 no-mint mark small date penny in copper, a coin so rare that only a handful have ever been authenticated, and what makes it stand out even more is the fact that Philadelphia cents from this year were supposed to carry no mint mark as usual, but the combination of the small date style and the copper composition produced an error that should not have existed in circulation, and it is this mismatch between composition, design, and production expectations that transformed a seemingly ordinary penny into a multimillion-dollar treasure, and collectors everywhere began to hunt for it in pocket change, coin rolls, and old jars, dreaming that they too might stumble upon this elusive gem. But the story doesn't end here, because the 1982 penny also became a hotbed of errors, double dies, weak strikes, and transitional mistakes, each of which only fueled its reputation as a coin full of secrets waiting to be discovered. Some examples show doubling on the date or lettering. Others exhibit odd thicknesses due to planchet problems, and still others are transitional errors struck on leftover copper planchets when zinc was supposed to be used. And it is these transitional errors that are most fascinating because they prove just how chaotic the year 1982 was at the mint, with machines switching back and forth between copper and zinc, dyes being used longer than intended, and quality control missing details that would later become million-dollar rarities. And when you combine all these possibilities, the large date and small date differences, the copper versus zinc compositions, the missing mint mark expectations, and the transitional errors, you get a recipe for one of the most complex and desirable coins in U.S. history, and collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts because they know that finding a genuine 1982 no-mint mark small date copper penny is like winning the lottery. A coin that might slip unnoticed through the hands of millions until one sharp-eyed person realizes its true identity, and once authenticated by grading services it instantly leaps from being a single cent of face value to a $3 million prize. But why exactly is it so valuable? The answer lies in the laws of supply and demand combined with the thrill of rarity. Because only a few of these coins exist, and every collector dreams of owning one, which drives up demand beyond comprehension. And then you add the fact that 1982 was a turning point in penny production. So it represents not only a coin but also a piece of American history, a symbol of the end of an era of copper coinage, and that symbolism itself makes it priceless. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that represents the exact moment when history shifted, when copper gave way to zinc, when designs were retooled, and when mistakes created legends. And beyond the technical reasons, there is also the human fascination with the possibility of discovery. Because the idea that you could find one of these coins and change today ignites excitement in the coin collecting world like few other stories can, and that is why videos, articles, and forums are filled with tales of people searching for them, checking every 1982 penny they come across, and dreaming of joining the exclusive club of those who have found one. But the truth is that most 1982 pennies are worth only a cent or maybe a few dollars depending on condition and type. And it is only the rare no-mint mark copper small date variety that achieves the $3 million figure, yet the mere existence of such a possibility keeps the hunt alive, and when we think about errors and mistakes in coin production we often assume they lower the value, but in reality the opposite is true in numismatics because errors create rarity, rarity creates demand, and demand creates value, and so when a coin like this emerges it becomes a perfect storm for skyrocketing prices. And stories of transitional errors from other years like 1943 copper cents or 1974 aluminum cents only add to the legend, but the 1982 no-mint mark small date copper cent remains unique in its own way because it was born out of a year of mass change and inconsistency, making it a once-in-a-lifetime creation, and to truly appreciate it you have to picture the process, the mint striking millions upon millions of pennies, switching metals mid-year, preparing dies with different date sizes, trying to meet demand while managing costs. And somewhere in that chaos a batch of coins came out that should never have existed, and today those survivors are treated as the crown jewels of modern U.S. coinage. And as we talk about the possibilities, let us not forget the other errors associated with this coin, such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, double dies, and even coins struck on foreign planchets by mistake, all of which add layers to the fascination with 1982 pennies. And while those may not reach the same $3 million level, they still can command impressive prices because collectors know that 1982 is the year when anything could have happened, and this unpredictability makes it one of the most studied and collected penny years of all. And when you think about it, the fact that such a small object, just a penny, can cause so much excitement, passion, and financial movement is a testament to the human love for stories, rarity, and history combined into one. Because at its core this coin is not just valuable for its metal or design but for the story it tells, a story of transition, error, survival, and discovery. And that story is why people pay millions. So when we say the 1982 no-mint mark penny is worth $3 million, it is not just about the physical coin but about everything it represents, the hopes, the hunts, the mistakes of the mint, and the triumph of the collector who finds it. And as long as these coins exist they will continue to captivate generations of treasure seekers, reminding everyone that sometimes the most extraordinary treasures are hiding in plain sight, right in the palm of your hand, waiting for the sharp-eyed and lucky few to recognize them and claim their place in history. Next, 1962 no-mint mark 1 cent USA coin. The excitement never stops when we talk about rare coins that have captured the imagination of collectors all around the world. And after uncovering the thrilling saga of the 1982 no-mint mark penny that costs $3 million, now it's time to move further back in history and explore the incredible story of the 1962 no-mint mark USA 1 cent coin that is valued at a jaw-dropping $8 million. A coin that has stunned the numismatic community not just for its breathtaking price but for the layers of mystery, error, historical significance, and possibilities that surround it. And today we will unravel the long, fascinating journey of this penny, how a seemingly ordinary coin that millions carried in their pockets turned out to be one of the most precious pieces of American coinage ever to exist, and why its errors, mistakes, and anomalies have given it the status of a legend, a treasure, and a miracle rolled into one. So, buckle in because this is going to be an in-depth exploration that shows how something so small could carry a value greater than gold, greater than diamonds, and greater than most treasures people spend their lives searching for, because the 1962 no-mint mark penny has become a symbol of rarity, luck, and numismatic wonder. To begin, let's place ourselves in the year 1962, a time when the United States Mint was still producing pennies in their traditional copper composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a sturdy blend that had been the hallmark of Lincoln cents since 1909. And the design featured the classic Lincoln obverse with the wheat ears already replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse starting in 1959, marking the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. So by 1962, Americans were already accustomed to seeing the Lincoln Memorial reverse on their cents, Yet behind the scenes at the Philadelphia Mint, where coins carried no mint mark at the time, there were quirks, oversights, and technical mistakes that would lead to the birth of some of the most unusual varieties of the Lincoln cent series, and among them the 1962 no mint mark penny became a star. Though most people never realized it until decades later when coin enthusiasts began piecing together the clues. At first glance, the 1962 no mint mark penny looks like any other copper Lincoln Memorial cent, but its astronomical value lies in the fact that certain examples from this year exhibit bizarre and highly unusual minting errors that should not have occurred under normal production standards, including doubled dies where the date and lettering appear strongly doubled. Repunched mint marks despite being a no mint mark issue suggesting die reuse or leftover dies that had previously been altered. Off-metal errors where the coin was struck on planchets intended for dimes or even foreign coins, and transitional mistakes where experimental alloys were tested and somehow escaped into circulation. And when all these possibilities converge on a single year, collectors realize that the 1962 no mint mark cent is not just one coin but a gateway into a world of minting mysteries. And it is the rarest of these mistakes combined with the fact that Philadelphia coins bore no mint mark that skyrocketed the value of a few known specimens to an unbelievable $8 million. Imagine a coin that should have cost 1 cent but instead became a multimillion-dollar masterpiece simply because of a misstep in a minting room, because a die was misaligned, or because a blank planchet from another denomination slipped into the press. And it is exactly these accidents that make coins like the 1962 no mint mark penny treasures beyond imagination. Because rarity is born not of design intention but of human error, machinery wear, oversight, and luck, and when rarity is proven and authenticated by trusted grading companies, the coin immediately ascends into the realm of priceless collectibles. Some of the most fascinating 1962 no mint mark errors include double die obverse where the date 1962 appears with dramatic doubling so clear that even the naked eye can see it, and such errors are highly sought after because they show the flaws in the die-making process at the time. And then there are examples where the reverse Lincoln Memorial shows doubling in the columns, inscriptions, or steps, making the coin stand out as something extraordinary. And beyond doubled dies there are also off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned leaving a crescent of blank space, and broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its normal rim, and then the crown jewels of the 1962 errors, coins struck on silver dime planchets or foreign blanks that by mistake were fed into the presses, resulting in coins that weigh less than normal, ring differently when dropped, and shine with a different luster. And these particular off-metal errors are the ones that have driven the price to the $8 million level, because they are virtually unique, and collectors are willing to fight at auctions to claim ownership of such a marvel. Now, let's consider why the absence of a mint mark adds even more weight to the legend of this coin, because coins struck in Philadelphia before 1980 carried no mint mark at all, which means that identifying the true origins and varieties of the coin requires painstaking study, and that lack of mint mark adds mystery because without it the coin feels anonymous, elusive, harder to trace, and yet more alluring to collectors who love a challenge, and in the case of the 1962 no mint mark penny, this anonymity has only deepened its aura, as if it were hiding its secrets in plain sight for decades before being discovered. And when you combine that with minting mistakes, you end up with a coin that is not only rare but mysterious, and mystery in collecting always translates into value. Another factor that makes the 1962 no mint mark penny so extraordinary is its condition in the few surviving examples that have sold for millions, because many of them were preserved in near-perfect condition, either by chance or by being set aside before heavy circulation. And when you pair extreme rarity with exceptional condition, you get the perfect storm for astronomical auction results. Because collectors know that not only are there very few of these coins, but those that exist are in such pristine states that they almost look freshly minted, and that elevates their value to mythic levels. But beyond errors, beyond condition, beyond mint marks, there is also the cultural and historical significance of the coin, because 1962 was a year filled with political tension, technological change, and cultural shifts in America, from the height of the Cold War to the growing space race, from civil rights struggles to booming post-war prosperity. And coins from this era are cherished not just for their metal but for their connection to a time in history when the nation was transforming rapidly. And when you hold an authentic 1962 no-mint mark penny worth millions, you are not just holding a coin, you are holding a fragment of that history, frozen in copper, and that emotional connection adds to the reason why collectors are willing to pay fortunes, because it's not just about owning a coin, it's about owning a piece of America's past, an artifact that carries within it stories, secrets, and symbolism. Furthermore, when people hear that a penny from 1962 with no mint mark can be worth $8 million, it sparks the imagination of everyday folks who rush to check their change jars, old piggy banks, or inherited coin collections, hoping to strike it rich, and this sense of possibility fuels a treasure hunting fever unlike anything else. Because the thought that something so small and so ordinary might actually be a hidden fortune drives people to pay attention to coins again, and that renewed attention reinvigorates the entire hobby of numismatics, and that is why stories like the 1962 penny endure for generations, because they are not only about value but about dreams, about the possibility that anyone, anywhere, at any time might stumble across one of these hidden treasures. To put the $8 million value into perspective, consider that in the coin collecting world, price is driven by a mix of rarity, demand, historical significance, and condition, and the 1962 no-mint mark penny ticks every one of those boxes: rarity because only a tiny handful of true errors exist, demand because every serious collector in the world would love to own it, historical significance because it represents an era and a minting mistake that should never have left the presses, and condition because the known examples are stunningly preserved, and when all of that aligns, the price skyrockets to levels most people cannot believe. And it is this convergence that explains why an ordinary-looking cent could command more than the price of luxury mansions, rare sports cars, or entire collections of gold, because its value is not based on utility but on uniqueness, and uniqueness is priceless. Yet, the fascination with this coin also lies in the what-if scenarios, because what if there are more 1962 no-mint mark pennies with these errors still out there, hidden away in jars, collections, or forgotten drawers? What if someone today might unknowingly have an $8 million coin sitting in a box? And this possibility creates an eternal hunt, a sense of suspense, a feeling that the next great discovery could happen at any moment, and it is this sense of possibility that makes the story of the 1962 penny immortal, because every collector dreams of being the one to find it, and until every coin from that year has been examined, the dream remains alive. And when you think about the human side of this story, the idea that a small accident in a factory over 60 years ago could ripple across decades and generate fortunes for collectors today is a powerful reminder that history is full of surprises, that mistakes can turn into treasures, and that even the most ordinary things we overlook might hold extraordinary secrets. And that is why the 1962 no-mint mark penny costing $8 million is not just a story about a coin but about the beauty of accidents, the magic of history, and the timeless allure of rarity. And as long as people value history, rarity, and dreams, this penny will remain one of the most captivating and valuable treasures of all time.